Hey, MCE crew, you know the old saying.
I'll lead an effective strategy to mobilize true international effort to pressure.
Actually, I was thinking more along the lines of if at first you don't succeed, try again. Biden is trying once again to institute economic slavery in America. He's trying it with this. This is the second time he's proposed an unrealized capital gains tax. Okay, so what is that? Basically, and think about it like this. You have a share of XYZ company. Okay, you bought that share at $10. Now, each share trades for $100. So, wow, you've made some money. What Biden's unrealized capital gains tax is designed to do is to tax you on the increase or the return, the $90 spread between what you bought it at and what it is now. Okay. And you might be saying, hey, well, Tyrone, there is a capital gains tax. Yes, that is true. But that doesn't kick in until you've actually sold the stock. What Biden is saying is, even if you haven't sold it, they still want to levy a tax on that increase, on that return. All right. Think about it in terms of real estate. Oh, you're sitting in your house and you bought that house 20 years ago, and now houses in the neighborhood are selling for $1 million. Okay, this is highly probable today. You bought the house for $250,000. So you're sitting on boatloads of equity. Okay, $750,000 worth of equity. What the Biden tax proposal's idea is to tax you on that $750,000 in gain, although you have not sold the house, you have not tapped into its equity. You're just living there. Okay. So now you have an additional tax burden on top of your local taxation, and you didn't even sell the house. Okay. You didn't put any money in your pocket, but the government is demanding that you put money in its pocket. Okay. Now, here's the Trojan horse piece of it. They're coming at this again by approaching it from the millionaires and billionaires perspective, because that will get a lot of the dummies in this nation to glom onto it, because we're supposed to hate the rich. Look at her. She's flying around in a Gulfstream jet. I hate her, even though she provides jobs. Okay, she creates jobs because she owns a big conglomerate, was the CEO of a big conglomerate or corporation. Biden proposes a new minimum tax on billionaires' unrealized gains. Biden's billionaires tax would reduce the deficit by $360 billion over the next 10 years. Now, mind you, the deficit is over $2 trillion. Now, guys, just want to level set here. Remember, there's a difference between debt and deficit. The deficit is actually the difference between the government's spending and the revenue. Okay, so let's say you make $100,000 a year, but you spent $110,000 a year. Forget taxes, just let's deal with the raw numbers. So you're in a $10,000 deficit. Okay, the debt, of course, you might have realized or incurred much more debt, but for that year you have a $10,000 deficit. So that's what we talk about. They're trying to target this tax at the deficit in order to, what they really need to do is stop spending. What we really need to do is close some of these far-flung military bases from the World War II era. Okay, I don't think that Germany is going to be, in danger of being overrun by the Soviets. And look, Germany's the wealthiest country in Europe. Even if they fall into a situation like that, we're right over here. We can, we'll be there in a couple of weeks. It'll be okay. But do we need all of this military infrastructure around the world? Do we? I mean, can we afford it? All right. Now, the argument may be, sure, we need it. Okay, fine. Can we afford it? I think not. So if you want to get rid of the debt, if you want to reduce the debt and deficit, then what you ought to be doing, Mr. President, is coming back with a proposal that reduces spending drastically. But be that as it may, President Biden unveiled it's not new. He was thinking about this for his 2021 budget. Now it's the 2023 budget. a 2022 budget, and that's a 2023 budget. He's just trying it again because he didn't get it the first time. New minimum tax targeting billionaires as part of his 2023 budget request, proposing a 20% rate that would hit both the income and unrealized capital gains of the wealthiest Americans. Now, let's stop right there. That's the Trojan horse. The wealthiest Americans, billionaires, multi-millionaires. Again, designed to fool you, okay? Designed to distract you from a very important point, which is we're starting with millionaires and we're starting with billionaires and multi-millionaires, okay? We ain't stopping there. This is going to come down to us because if you look at the numbers, okay, and what they want to do, this only accounts for about 18% of the deficit, okay? Reducing the deficit by $360 billion over 10 years. Remember, the deficit is over $2 trillion. So we're talking about somewhere in the neighborhood of 18 to 20% reduction based on today's number, okay? I'm talking about a decade out. So even if that was the case, if we stopped spending today and we didn't have a deficit anymore, other than the $2 trillion, we're still just talking about, a 20% stake at the most of getting rid of the current deficit. They're going to keep spending more. Where are they going to get the rest of this money to deal with this deficit? Well, they're going to start it off at billionaires and multimillionaires, and then they're coming for you. The billionaire minimum income tax, that's what the bill is entitled. Again, to distract you, to get you to say, oh, it's just billionaires, I'm good. The billionaire minimum income tax would establish a 20% minimum tax on all U.S. households worth more than $100 million, or about 0.01% of Americans. This is merely a test case. This is a proving ground. Iron out the details. Get the employees over at the IRS to understand how this would work so they have a good base of knowledge when they reduce it from billionaires to, okay, you got $5 million. Okay, well, you're subject to this as well. Oh, okay, you've got what, $150,000? Okay, it won't happen, instantly, but it will be moved down, over the years, especially if you keep getting Democrat presidents, okay? And before you know it, your 401k will be sitting there growing, and they'll say, hey, you know what? It's unrealized gains, okay? That's unrealized gains. He's making money over there, even though he's not realizing it, not able to use it. Well, we need to go ahead and tax him. Believe me, anything is possible when a legislature is in session. Your life, liberty, and your property are at risk when these guys go up to these state capitals and Capitol Hill in D.C. and start to come up with these bright ideas. If enacted, the tax would reduce the deficit by $360 billion over the next decade. Remember, that might sound like a lot, but it's only 18% of what the deficit is today, $2 trillion. President Biden is a capitalist, and he believes that anyone should be able to become a millionaire or a billionaire. The White House said in a statement he also believes that it is wrong for America to have a tax code that results in America's wealthiest households paying a lower tax rate than working families. This is... trying to stop cursing, but this is the bullshit, okay? Because if they were being honest, these people know that the reason why the wealthiest Americans have a lower tax rate is because they own businesses, okay? And they're also trying to make it look like wealthy people don't pay taxes, which is nonsense. They do, okay? Remember, Trump's tax returns were a big deal. What's that woman's name on MSNBC? Gosh, I can't remember her name. She was an anchor. Anyway, not important. She built this whole thing up where she had Trump's tax return and she was going to expose it that night on live TV. And when she got into it, turns out Trump paid more taxes than he had to. Rich people pay taxes, okay? Yes, their rate might be lower, okay? But the real who do you think's paying more taxes? Warren Buffett or his secretary? Remember when he came out very disingenuously back during the Obama administration, and he made this big deal. Oh, my secretary has a higher tax rate. She pays more in taxes. Well, it sounds like you need to pay your secretary more money, Warren. Stingy ass Warren. Him and Charlie Munger, they're a wealth of knowledge, but two of the creepiest dudes, okay, to ever grace this earth. Warren with his fake, all shucks attitude, and Munger just comes out and makes no bones about it, man. This guy makes the Emperor on Star Wars look like, I don't know, child's play. Anyway, under the proposal, the top sliver of U.S. households would be required to pay a tax rate of at least 20% on their full income, or the combination of wage income and whatever they made in unrealized gains. Unrealized gains. If a billionaire is not paying 20% of on their income, they will owe a top-up payment that makes up the difference to meet the new minimum. Again, you might be wondering, well, why am I paying attention to this? Because it's coming your way. It's coming your way as someone who has $1 million in their bank account. It's coming your way as someone who may have $500,000 worth of equity or $250,000 worth of equity in their home. Because many of the ultra rich derive their vast wealth from the soaring value of assets like stock and property, which are not considered to be taxable income unless the individual sells. They're able to legally store their fortunes and reduce their tax bite. And that's something that we always advocate here, to stock up assets. Don't sell those assets. Just continue to amass them. You can employ then the buy, borrow, die strategy, which has you taking loans off of the value of those assets. And remember, loan proceeds, for now at least, are not taxable. Okay, this is what a lot of the wealthy are doing. Under current law, a gain is only taxed if and when the owner sells the asset. How should you make your money? You should be increasing your income. So you should be establishing a business that will allow you to increase your income and letting your assets just sit and build value or appreciate. This is what the Biden administration is attacking. And as more Americans decide to do this, they're definitely coming after, all income strata, because the government is broke and they have a profligate spending problem. As a result, this new minimum tax will eliminate the ability for the unrealized income of ultra rich, high net worth households to go untaxed for decades or generations, the White House said in a budget proposal. Although Biden did not endorse a billionaire's tax during the 2020 presidential campaign. Okay, right. Why would he? He wanted to be elected president. He threw his support behind the idea this past year after Senator Joe Manchin, Democrat from West Virginia, killed a different spending plan that included tax hikes on well-off corporations and Americans earning more than $400,000 per year. Now, so they tried to go at Americans making far less than millions or billions. 400,000, okay? When you account for a business you may have started, assets that are generating income, 400,000 is not a tough, limit to achieve, okay? It remains unclear whether congressional Democrats will approve of Biden's plan to tax billionaires and ultra-millionaires. Now, there are so few billionaires and ultra-millionaires that I don't think they're going to do it this year because, these parasites want to get reelected. And that's going to be hard to do anytime you're talking about new taxation, especially if some of these savvy business owners who are millionaires and billionaires can make the argument that, this is going to result in them somehow having to cut back on jobs or it impacting the economy negatively, considering where we are right now in the economy. Senator Manchin called a different billionaire's tax proposal from Senator Ron Wyden, Democrat from Oregon, convoluted, but has since suggested that he could support some type of levy targeting the richest Americans. You start attacking these rich folk, man. Look, I never got a job from a poor person, okay? Look, let's just be honest about it. Biden also proposed raising the corporate tax rate to 28% from 21% as part of his budget request and pitched a global minimum tax that's designed to crack down on offshore tax havens. Go ahead, raise taxes on businesses. Guess what? They're just going to pass that on to us. So on top of inflation, okay, on top of supply shortages that are increasing the price of items at your local grocery store, they want to also slap a tax on additional taxation, go from 21% to 28% on corporate taxes. It's just going to be passed on. Okay, that's how the world works. But Democrats don't know much about macroeconomics. A lot of politicians don't. I've always said that before you win election, before you actually throw your name in the hat to run, there should be a macroeconomics certificate that you have to present to the Board of Election saying that you got at least a B in the class, college level, before you can sign up to run for office, okay? And that would solve a lot of problems. Under his envisioned budget, the nation's deficit would shrink by more than $1 trillion over the next decade. That's not true, because if he's only going to tax this certain small group of people, then it's not going to reduce for that reason. There's not enough coming in to do that, and they're going to keep spending. Okay, so the number will keep rising even if they get this. More government lies. So guys, we'll pay attention to this, but keep in mind, just keep stacking assets, okay? Even though they want to come after every aspect of your ability to create wealth, okay? And everything's fair game, okay? Something might be able to grow tax-free, and you might be able to get your hands on some of the money from that tax-free, like out of a properly structured permanent life insurance policy. That might be the case today, but legislatively they could change that at the drop of a hat. That is why it's important to understand who you're voting for, okay? I don't give a damn how many babies you kiss. I don't care how empathetic you seem. I want to know about what your position is on economic issues, most specifically taxation, because, you know, what are you guys doing with the money? We got roads and bridges. I mean, we got a military. So vote as if your life depended on it. And your financial life certainly does. Guys, I'll talk to you soon. To learn more about how you can achieve financial independence, check out these videos we recently posted on the Money Changes Everything channel.